I Know What You Did Last Summer. Odds are when you hear that title, you're in either one of two camps. Either you love the film or you despise it. Hot off the heels of the revival of the slasher genre, all thanks to Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer came along and became a cultural phenomenon. For a brief period, it was everywhere. It was one of the highest grossing slasher films of all time, and with its fame and cultural impact, it quickly became divisive. Some loved it for its witty dialogue and clever way of bringing the slasher genre out of the 80s, and others despised its lack of originality and the fact that it rode on Scream's coattails. So looking at it now, almost 25 years after it was released, does the film hold up, or was it just capturing lightning in a bottle? Well, let's find out together. Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. I first saw I Know What You Did Last Summer in the early to mid 2000s, and at the time, I didn't like it. Now, I was a relatively young horror fan who was just getting into the slasher classics like A Nightmare on Elm Street and the Halloween series at the time. I wasn't a fan of this new wave of horror, but even I couldn't deny that I Know What You Did Last Summer had a huge cultural impact. It was parodied in Boy Meets World, The Simpsons, and even Scary Movie. It was everywhere, and it really helped popularize the rise of the self-aware or woke slasher films of the early 2000s. If you watch this channel, you know that I love slasher films. The slasher genre started in the late 70s and really peaked in the early 80s, and that's basically where my knowledge of the genre falls off. Sure, I know Scream and its sequels, but I feel like some of them have flown under my radar. I want to go back and I want to try to watch some of these films to see if I missed out on any classics during the oversaturated revival of the slasher genre in the wake of Scream. So I'm starting with a film that played second fiddle to Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer brought in bank, which proved to producers that the slasher genre was back. They greenlighted a lot of productions in the wake of it. Think of Scream as Halloween 1978, and then think of I Know What You Did Last Summer as Friday the 13th. The formula was replicated and money was ready to be made. For the few of you out there who don't know anything about tonight's film, let's talk about the plot briefly. We have four wide-eyed high school seniors ready to be successful in life. They have so many great plans and the biggest of dreams. After a night of partying, they decide to drive home and, oops, they accidentally hit someone. When they look at the body, they kind of just assume and think that he's dead. This part of the movie annoys me. Is he dead or not? This isn't something that you can just guess or assume. You gotta check it out, and if you don't know what you're doing, have someone else do it. Of course, they debate whether or not they should call the cops. The boys insist that they can just throw the body in the water and have it erase all the evidence. They don't want their lives to be ruined after all. This is all incredibly dumb, and their arguments don't hold up. But the movie still needs to happen, so they take the body to dump it off in the water, but oh no. That guy is still alive. But as I said earlier, the movie still needs to happen, so they dump the body off in the water regardless. After dumping off the body that's still clearly alive, they make a pact to never speak of this night again. They all agree. Some needed a little bit of force, but they agree. A year passes, and remember how I said that everyone was ready to be successful in life? Well, it didn't happen. Turns out that the guilt of killing someone kinda kills your dreams. Anyways, our lead character Julie comes home from college and gets a note that says, I know what you did last summer. This is honestly brilliant. Having a mysterious person know one of your deepest, darkest secrets is terrifying. It's invasive. It's incredibly personal. We all have something in life that we regret or we hide, and having someone know that about you without you telling them is a really scary thought. It's just too bad that our characters made the dumbest decisions to get to this point. A lot of this could have been avoided, but as I said earlier, the movie needed to happen. Turns out that all four of the friends are getting mysterious messages, and some are even getting warnings. A year after that fateful night, all the friends are starting to get picked off one by one. The killer is wearing a fisherman's getup, and with the film being set in a small fishing town, it's very fitting. Who knows their dark secret? and who wants them dead. I Know What You Did Last Summer was written by Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream. He was in huge demand after writing Scream, and this was his follow-up. He helped revive the slasher genre with his witty, self-referential dialogue in Scream, so how did it fare in I Know What You Did Last Summer? He took a step back. It's a straight-up slasher film, and honestly, not a very good one. Now, before I bash on the film, I do want to go over the positives, and there are a few. The film is watchable. Sure, you might get annoyed by plot progression, but it's filmed well enough, lighting was fine, and music was of the era. The acting is phenomenal though. I have to give them props here. The casting directors and young actors did great. Now the story just didn't do it for me. If you can sympathize with not calling the cops in the opening situation, then maybe the film may work a bit better for you, but the characters were just so dumb in my opinion. So many times they'd said something trying to sound smart, but it just made no sense. At one point, they discussed getting in a car and driving far, far away, but then they shot it down and said, oh, we should probably go to the parade and find the killer.
I want to do what's smart.
Then let's get the hell out of here. We can leave town.
You've got that parade today. Forget it.
No, you need to be there in case he shows up.
I don't want him to show up.
Look, Helen, this could be our chance. Okay, we could catch him.
What sense does that make? I Know What You Did Last Summer was actually based on a book of the same name that came out in 1973. Now, I haven't read the book, but from what I've gathered, it's very different. The film is a lot more linear. In the book, the backstory is kind of sprinkled throughout. In the book, the kids run over a boy while the boy rides a bicycle. They again don't want their lives to be over, so they call the police anonymously. The boy is dead in the story and the police were called, and I like that setup a lot more. I could probably buy a teenager doing that in real life. I can't buy this though. That's just dumb. I Know What You Did Last Summer just didn't hold up for me. I couldn't get into it. But if you want a movie with a similar premise that came out 15 years prior, you should check out The House on Sorority Row. I actually covered this one on my channel in the past, and even though the review is a little old and it's a bit cringe, the movie itself is fantastic. You should watch this instead of wasting your time on I Know What You Did Last Summer. And that's all I have for tonight, so as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe. Take care, everyone.